Welcome to Core and Bath Conversations, a podcast series dedicated to adoption, fostering and kinship care. We ask children's social care professionals and experts by experience to join us to share with us and you, our listeners, their experiences, reflections and knowledge. I hope you enjoy.
Hello, I'm James Berry, Head of Policy Research and Practice at Core and Bath. And today I'm going to be speaking with Andrew Rist from Family Rights Group about their work on developing and delivering the Build Not Break campaign. Now, thank you for joining me, Andrew. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us about how you first became involved with the Family Rights Group and the Build Not Break campaign?
Thank you, James. I'm a Family Group Conference and Lifelong Links Practice Advisor for Family Rights Group, and I've been at Family Rights Group since 2019. My job is to support the implementation and development of lifelong links in local authorities across the UK. Lifelong links is an innovative approach developed by Family Rights Group, working to make sure that every child in care and every care leaver is connected to people who care about them.
Brilliant. Thank you, Andrew. We also have Sandra joining us, who is a Lifelong Links coordinator, but importantly also has a second role as a life story facilitator, which you might find out a bit more about later. And finally, we also have Saima, who is a young care experienced person with lived experience of lifelong links. So thank you both for joining us, and it'd be really nice to have an introduction from you both. So I'll invite Sandra first.
I'm Sandra. Well, I got involved with Lifelong Links when I trained as a Lifelong Links coordinator. And I'm just really keen to see how we can connect care experienced children with their family and friends and the people who are significant to them in their lives. I'm also a life story social worker, and I think there's a really good connection between the two. Yeah, I've really enjoyed the experience.
Thank you, Sandra. I'm going to come to you now, Saima. So it'd be really nice to hear from you and a bit about yourself and your involvement with Lifelong Links and whatever you want to say.
I'm Saima, and I am a care experienced young person. I've used Lifelong Links, the service, and I actually really enjoyed my Lifelong Link support.
Thank you so much, Saima. I really appreciate that. Now, what I was going to do is just start with the campaign itself. So the campaign's called Build Not Break campaign. Where did that idea come from?
So Build Not Break is a campaign from Family Rights Group for children and young people in care and care leavers to have positive, loving relationships that they can rely on into adulthood. In 2013, the Care Inquiry identified that the greatest failing of the care system is that it too often breaks rather than build relationships for children. And so Family Rights Group has been working hard to change this. We work with parents, kinship carers, young people and other partners across England, Scotland and Wales to influence national and local policy making. Family Rights Group has an advice and advocacy service that supports families to understand the law and child welfare processes when social workers or courts are making decisions about their children. And in 2017, we developed Lifelong Links to help local authorities directly support children and young people with establishing, developing and maintaining links with people that they care about. We hope that one day Lifelong Links won't be needed because relationships are not broken at that point, but we clearly are not there yet.
Thank you, Andrew. So it's come from a really clear identified need that this is work that needs to take place to support young people. And I just wondered whether you could share some of the challenges or any insights you have in some of the challenges that children in care or those leaving care face, particularly regarding their support networks. Is there anything any of you might want to share?
Yeah, I'm happy to start, but Saima and Sandra, please jump in. Most of us have somebody that we can turn to for practical or emotional support, family, friends, neighbours, but this is often not the case for children in care and those leaving care. Those important relationships have been broken at the point of entering the care system. I've heard poet Lem Sisse talk about when he left care, or as he says, when care left him, he realised the gravity of his situation by who wasn't there. He had no one to call, no one to celebrate or commiserate with, no one to give him a hug. You know, it's not every child's care experience, but I've seen how young people are still left isolated and alone at that point. And even when they're kept busy and seemingly doing well, there still is an element of being lonely and missing people that they care about.
I think I do relate to that in that sense that when I was in care, I think the challenges I faced a lot were the social workers, because it was really hard getting that relationship with my family, because the social workers weren't as keen of building that relationship with for us and helping us. Instead, it felt like they were breaking it, which was really difficult because in the long run, we became so lonely and we had so much time. Like, it was so weird because me and my little sister, despite having each other, we felt like we had so much time. We didn't know what to do with that time because we didn't have that much time. Like, we've always had our family surrounding us, and to be in the care system, you realize like how much more lonelier you are, as you only have like selected few people that you can see. And it is mainly the social worker that allows you to see, that gives you that permission to see your family. But initially it was really hard for me to actually see my family because we had so many restrictions along the way as well, which made it really, really difficult. That's where like Lifelong Link really helped, because they were supporting us in actually building and strengthening our relationships with our family, and actually giving us a choice in who we wanted to see, and like actually allowing us to have our voices heard, which social service didn't really allow.
I would agree. And from a social work perspective, there are a number of issues why those links are broken. I don't think necessarily intentionally, but I think that social workers, have a set way of kind of looking at things. We're thinking about safety and keeping children safe, but what we're not looking at is how things change along the way. And there's no reason why we can't keep on developing relationships. And that's where the Lifelong Links has come in. And I think it's been very supportive for a lot of young people who, had lost those links. They remembered being with family, having cousins, having friends, having neighbours, going to different schools and stuff like that. But nobody's gone back to look at it. And Lifelong Links has really helped a lot of people to kind of just, make those links again and look at them and look at how safe they are, and, reasons why maybe it should happen or maybe shouldn't happen, because there's a lot of different ways that it can happen. It doesn't have to be direct contact. It could be, over the phone. It could be a video call. It could be a number of different things.
Yeah, that's one thing that I really, really liked about Lifelong Link, because one, they actually challenged the social workers, because we had, in terms of actually challenging the social workers, it was only me and my little sister, and it felt like a lost cause, because we would question and ask, but they wouldn't really respond because they ultimately looked at us as children. We felt unworthy because of the fact that we didn't get a response. Yeah, no, I do agree with that, because with Lifelong Link, it really taught me that there's different forms of communication, and it really empowered us in that way, because we got to choose how we wanted to communicate, how we wanted to have contact with our family. But yeah, it really strengthened my relationship with certain family that I haven't got in contact with. Like, for example, with my dad, I haven't had contact with him for a good few years. I think the last time I had contact with him was when I was 5 years old, and I was 17 when I tried to get back into contact with him. But I didn't feel comfortable getting in contact with him because I felt like I was initially meeting a stranger at first. But with Lifelong Link, we were able to get a supportive way into like making it a safe environment and making it into a comfortable environment for us. So it started off with like messages and calls and things like that, which really helped.
I've just got to say this, just thank you so much, Saima, for talking to us about that. It's so powerful and important for us to hear this. So I just want to say we really appreciate you sharing that. You can really already hear the value of Lifelong Links and the importance of this campaign coming through from this discussion. And I just wanted to go into what are the long-term effects of sort of separation from family members or networks on children. What is that impact? Because we know that there is 37% of children in care have siblings separate from them, according to the Children's Commissioner. So that's a significant number. So what is the impact on children when that happens?
I would say it was a really bad impact on me and my sister, because we hadn't seen, for example, my little brother, he was sent into care before me and my sister had. So it was a good 2 years before I got to see him. And it felt really strange because like we were used to living together, and then all of a sudden like our family was ripped apart. It was just so strange, because it's like one morning you wake up and you're like, what's going on? Like you don't know what's happening and you feel lost. But it felt really strange because everyone was everywhere. and not having that contact, it makes you drift apart because your relationship isn't as strong as before, because you've lived together, you've always known what to talk about, and but when I had like separated from my brother, you just see how much they grow, you see every little difference, and it feels like you're losing out on milestones like birthdays and like any celebrations we have going on, because you can't really do them the same, especially because he moved really, really far from us. Like we had to drive a good couple of hours to be able to see him. So it was really hard because our relationship wasn't the same as before. And it was really hard accepting that as well, because you notice like how it's not the same. For example, for me, I didn't really want contact with my mom. So it's been a good few years. However, I did want contact with my older siblings to actually carry on, but it was hard because I feel like that it was really upsetting as well, because we actually missed a lot of like milestones, and we missed a lot of like birthdays as well, and actually seeing how much our family has changed was really difficult. And also it actually makes you really lonely, because me and my sister had become really close, which was a positive, but at the same time, it made us really upset because we couldn't really do much. And emotionally, it wasn't really great because we were really struggling to accept that, one, we were in care, two, that we don't get to see our family as often. And yeah, it made us realize how much we were missing out on as well.
Yeah, and I guess as Simon's saying, I mean, it kind of makes you feel different, maybe to other children who do have those links. And we're looking after children in terms of like social services and social workers. So we should be trying to encourage that. We should be trying to get something as close as we can to family life, whatever that family life was like with for that particular child or young person. And lifelong links, for me, from what I've seen, and I know a bit about Saima, it helps with that, because breaking the links is just not helpful for anybody's identity, emotional health. For some, I know it's not for Saima, because Saima's very bright, intelligent young person.
Thank you.
I won't even say young person, young woman. She's grown up in she's done extremely well, but there are a lot of young people who don't do so well. May affect their education, the way they feel about themselves. They just don't have those connections that look like them, sound like them, or culturally it could be very different in terms of their experiences. And as Saima has so rightly said, the distance that you have to travel to see a member of your family, I mean your brother or sister, also impacts on you emotionally. Imagine the journey, and what you might be thinking, and how that can build up the anxiety of I haven't seen him in 3 years. How old is he again? What does he look like? Okay, I may have had a photo, and it could, make an individual feel so scared, really.
You just made me realize the culture was a big thing as well, because like I'm obviously Bengali and my carer was Pakistani, and it was a huge like culture clash because the countries are quite similar, but at the same time it was still very different because our languages are very different. And my little sister felt like she wasn't Bengali anymore. She was like, yeah, she felt so like lost in that term because she's actually forgotten how to speak Bengali completely. And because over time, like she didn't really have anyone to speak Bengali with, and I didn't really, because we're sisters, we naturally just spoke English as it is anyway. But yeah, I really agree with that because it was a huge culture clash for us as well, because we're like, oh wow, like we didn't realize how different household runs as well and things like that.
Thank you so much, Saima and Sandra. And it's really powerful hearing these accounts and those experiences, and just how all sorts of changes from your own change in circumstance and your own journey can have an impact on your life in so many different ways. And I just wanted to look into sort of lifelong links, particularly because all children need those positive relationships. So how does Lifelong Links help support this?
One of the top requests that we get with Lifelong Links is to reconnect or find out some information about brothers and sisters and family members and like people that were living together at the time, as Saima described there. And so Lifelong Links coordinators work really hard to with families, with adoption agencies where brothers and sisters have been adopted across local authority boundary, even international boundaries, to try and reconnect them and find out information about them, and even find out about family members, including brothers and sisters that they never knew they had. Outside of that, we know that when children and young people are in care, it's really hard for them, as you've both described, to see parents, to see brothers and sisters. And then the further you get away from that nuclear family, grandparents, cousins, friends, neighbours, it can be like nearly impossible for them to get through the bureaucracy of local authority to have a relationship. And thinking about my own children, who are 7 and 10, they've got lots of people in their life that they call auntie and uncle that are just our friends, they're no blood relation. And if my children came into care, those would be the relationships, the important relationships that would be lost as well. So Lifelong Links really looks at all potential loving, caring relationships that young people find important to them. It's young person led, and so we'll work extensively with young people to map out, like their own private detective, in a way that we can map out all of the people that they think might be important to them, and with them select a few or a lot or just one person to reach out to see if that person has room in their lives to build a relationship and become a lifelong link.
Thank you, Angie. Is anything from Sandra or Saima around how Lifelong Links help?
I would say the fact that it made me realize like who we have as family, because not only did we have like my family, we also had like our teachers that we wanted to go back to and see come into our lives as well, which was really nice because we didn't realize that we can also have them as family as well. And they're really supportive. They're really, welcoming and kind. My little sister's teacher had like taken us out. He'll check up on us. He'll message us. And it's just another role in our life, another adult role that we have in our life to make sure that we're okay and, just to check up on us, which is really nice because when you're in care, you realize how small your family is, especially when you're a care leaver as well. I realize how smaller it gets as well, because you really start realizing like who your family is. In that way, Lifelong Link has really taught me like family isn't always blood. We can always have other people as family as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because it's whoever is significant to that child or young person. It's whoever is significant. It doesn't matter whether it's the school, whether it was a neighbour. It's whoever is important to that person. But what I will say is that sometimes I think a lot of things get lost when children go into care, which I mean, that's the whole purpose of Lifelong Links, recognising that we need to build that up. So many things get missed, like just simple things. Someone to tell you who is who in your family, whether you want to have that link or not. It may be just saying, okay, well, this is your auntie, whoever, this is your uncle, they have these children, and, these are their names, these are their ages, so that they know, so they've got an awareness of that. So, if Lifelong Links is involved, we can explore that. We can explore what's important to that child, and we can talk to their families. Let's not forget about the families, because families also, parents, children, aunties, uncles, they all have their own stories, and they may have felt a certain way. So it gives them the opportunity to actually look at and talk about their feelings around that, which will help the Lifelong Links coordinator assess in some way, is this going to be good for the child or young person? Is it going to be good for them? And then talk to the child or young person about that.
Sandra, I wanted to come in on that sort of point about being a Lifelong Links coordinator and also your role as a life story facilitator and sort of doing that work with children and families around life stories, and how those roles sort of potentially complement each other. I just wondered if you could sort of talk about how that works in practice.
Well, in terms of life story, the whole idea, I mean, all social workers should be doing life story work with children and young people. I mean, that's not, I mean, I'm not saying it's an issue with the borough, just an issue with the borough that I work with. It's a national issue. It's a national issue that maybe they don't have the time to do the quality work that is necessary in terms of helping the care experience person to understand, know, go on a journey and think about things. I think with life story work, you're able to you may be able to map out things, but it really depends on who's doing it, what time you've got to actually do it. And the benefits of lifelong links is that they're not seen as a threat. A lifelong links coordinator may not be seen as a threat to an auntie, uncle, parent, mother, father, whoever, and siblings. It may be they're seen as somebody positive, trying to do something positive. A social worker may be seen as somebody who is, they've done bad to them in some way. They took their child or children away, or the child in their family away. So I think by having a lifelong links coordinator, that helps to squash that kind of idea, and it helps us to be able to get a bit more information. Because like I said, everybody has a different story. And when we think about life story work, a lot may be taken out of what is written in a file, the case notes. That may not be correct. And that's just one perspective. Whereas with a lifelong links coordinator, they can sit, they can listen, and they can, get a bit more information, which will tell you about that individual's experience and their story. And then the two can actually meet somewhere. So I could actually use information from and work together with a lifelong links coordinator and their allocated social worker. And I could put that information in a life story book, or I would say a lifelong links book, because at the end of the work, we can put together a book. Lifelong Links can put together a book with all the information and the stories that have been gathered along the way. So I think they complement each other in a very positive way.
I was just going to identify that as with a family group conference coordinator, the Lifelong Links coordinator is independent from all decision making for a child or their families. So that independent and neutral position really gives the coordinator that ability, as Sandra has just said, to engage with the family, to build relationships, to work in a restorative way, to heal those relationships that during that adversarial court process might have been damaged between families and local authorities. So it's a very unique position. It's a very privileged position to be in, to act as that restorative practitioner in that way. And certainly with life story work, certainly on my own personal experience is that life story work isn't done nearly as much as it should be, putting it mildly. And when it is done, there are varying degrees of what that looks like. Not everyone's lucky enough to have a Sandra come along to work with them. But where they kind of differ a little bit is that Lifelong Links will seek to look for family members or network members, as Sandra said and Saima said, different people, such could be teachers, former foster carers, family, blood relatives, friends, school friends, that can be in their life for the foreseeable future, no matter what. And it really is the no matter what that we're looking for, so that not just the child that's in front of us, but the 20-year-old version of that child, the 30-year-old version who's starting their own families and having their own life problems, have people that they can lean on at different times. And as all of our families really ebb and flow, people in and out of our life, we just want to make sure that we're not missing anyone, so that at this really arguably the most supported a child's ever going to be in their life whilst they're in care, we can use all of these resources to help try and find a network that can support that child post 18, post 20. And we know that children and young people will do this anyway. They will look for family. They will go back to family. So we're doing Lifelong Links in a very safe and supported way to try and find people that have got that room in their lives to become a lifelong link for a child.
Thank you, Angie and Sandra. That's really powerful and helpful to sort of shape how Lifelong Links works for listeners. In terms of where Lifelong Links currently is, I understand it's available in 32 local authorities in England, Scotland and Wales. Can you share a bit more about the implementation and the scale of its impact so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's actually a little bit more than that, I'm pleased to say. So Lifelong Links is being offered in over 40 local authorities across England, Scotland and Wales, and currently 2,800 children and young people have benefited from Lifelong Links. And also, there might be 2,800 slightly different versions of Lifelong Links because it's tailored to each individual young person that's in front of us. And on average, when a young person starts Lifelong Links, they will have an average of 7 connections in their life, and when they do the work of lifelong links, that will increase to on average 26 connections. So over the years since 2017, we've pretty much filled a football stadium full of people in children's lives that weren't there before, cheering them on in different ways. And has been said earlier, it could be sending a birthday card, it could be visits, it could be spending time with them, it could be helping them out practically. There are a range of different ways that people can be lifelong links. And over the next few years, we hope to increase the number of children's services offering lifelong links. We are always looking for other ways in which this model can be adapted to support other children and young people. So we're currently doing a piece of work with children that are already adopted, and to look at what lifelong links might look like for those young people, with young people in residential children's homes as well, and young people in prisons. So thinking about those individual circumstances and how lifelong links can help.
Can I just add something?
Please.
Yeah, totally agree with everything that Andrew has said. But one of the really important things, like if it's a care experienced young person, is thinking about who they're currently living with, and the importance of being able to help them to understand, like if it's a foster carer, if it's a special guardian, whoever it is, working together with them in a way that they understand and they actually embrace the idea of extending that child or young person's networks for the future, for the current time and the future. Because if a foster carer or a whoever the permanent or the person who's looking after the child is, if they're not on side, it's just it would be a very difficult process. And I think a lot of foster carers may worry about it destabilising the child in their home. I just wanted to say how important it is. And with Lifelong Links, you work together with everyone. And the person who's looking after the child is just as important, is very important to be there for the child at all times. We're not there 24/7.
I think that's a really good point, and that we're through the practice tools we're using, such as genograms, something called mobility mapping, and our recently developed practice tool called Circles, just promoting the fact that it's okay to have different families, a foster family, an adoptive family, a birth family. So all of these families are coming together, and we bring people together at the end of Lifelong Links, ideally in a family group conference where people can get together, can share stories, share pictures, they can make plans for the future, so that this isn't just a nice day out they had once, but it means something. It's embedded thoroughly in care plans and pathway plans, so that it can continue to evolve and grow with that young person over time. And we have had a lot of foster carers become lifelong links, former foster carers, we've had teachers, you name it. There are no limits to what a lifelong link can look like. As long as that person is committing to the child or young person, they can be a lifelong link.
Thank you. And that sort of leads me on to the sort of next question, which is just any sort of specific success stories where children, young people have benefited from lifelong links. Is there any sort of either personal or professional examples that you can think of where lifelong links has really made that positive difference and really made a significant impact on a child or young person?
Every single piece of Lifelong Links work that I have encountered since it started has been of benefit in some small way or some large way, and you never know really the profound impacts that are going to happen because of the work that you're doing. That one relationship that is going to evolve into something really important that didn't exist before. That group of people that are going to support that child during lockdown, over the pandemic, that weren't in their life before, the people that can help get them work experience or a job and get started out, or help them move house. I think it's always the unknown, and people are often a bit worried about the unknown in social work. We like everything measured out and planned and risk assessed, and the unknown is a little bit scary. But what we do with Lifelong Links is just start everything with a planning meeting to try and allay those fears a little bit and become aligned to the fact that, again, the young person is going to do this anyway. And so how can we support them to explore their family and networks in a safe way? How can we help support them to understand difficult information about people in their network that could pose a danger to them in the future, and present that information in an age-appropriate way? And I think all of these benefits can help. And even as a lifelong links coordinator, myself, when it wasn't quite the desired outcome that I was hoping for, it was absolutely everything to the young person, because they got the answers that they needed at that time to move on to the next part in their life. But I'd throw it open to Saima and Sandra as well.
I would say it made such a huge impact in my life, because now that I'm a care leaver, you really realize that it truly, really, really made me realize that you need the family that you have, because as you're moving on and you start to become more independent, it does become difficult and lonely. So to have that family, it makes you stronger, and it makes your relationship with people in your life more stronger. And it really does teach you how to be a better person. In my opinion, it really helped me grow as well. And especially when things were becoming difficult, accepting that, even me accepting that I was going to be 18 was really difficult for me, because it's a huge life change for me, because I wasn't going to be a child anymore, and that I'm living in a whole semi-independent, which was really difficult for me to accept as well. Time felt really fast, and having my family there and support me really helped me become stronger. And not only that, but it helped me emotionally be stronger as well, and it made me happier, so much happier, because it made me realize my own strength. And not even that, but when it came to doing my education or anything that was good for me, it was really helpful, because I was clear-headed, I was more at ease, especially with the changes that you go through once you turn 18, because there's not a social worker looking out for you anymore. You aren't someone's priority anymore. You don't have the same support system and support network. But when you're 18, that everything changes, and it's really hard. But initially, I feel your family are the only ones there for you in the end, because your PA isn't as supportive, and she isn't there as much as a social worker is. But even though I really do enjoy my PA and having her there, but it's still very different. Who would you go to when you have that extra time? Your foster carer isn't there anymore. You do live by yourself, so it's having that free time as well. So it really helps you emotionally really grow and actually become stronger. But yeah, again, it's another way as well to actually get support in other things, because my little sister, now that she's doing work experience as well, she had her teacher come into her helping her with work experience, and has offered to help her through it and things like that. It's just, and I realized as well, it's another way of networking, because you realize you have more support than and they help you in ways that you can't imagine. But yeah, it really helped me, it really did.
Yeah, and I think some of the experiences, I mean, if I was to go years back into social work, because I've been doing social work for quite some time, and, a lot of young people would, 18, there'd be that cut off. It's not that social workers, teachers, or anybody didn't want to stay in contact. I think it's that it didn't feel safe to do it, and the local authority maybe would be saying, you're doing something wrong. And there are instances where it isn't safe. But I think what Lifelong Links has done was something I've always wanted. I've wanted to be able to say, yeah, I'm still a part of that young person's life. I'm still a part of their life. I've watched them grow up. I've watched them have their own children and become grandparents. Yeah, I'm still part of their life. I couldn't really do that and feel comfortable that I was doing that. I'm just going to say, as a social worker and maybe as a teacher, you may not feel comfortable doing it, but Lifelong Links is doing it in a way where you can say, yeah, I can actually do that. I can actually get the permission to do this, because that's what feels natural. It doesn't feel natural for me as a social worker to, just cut off links with somebody because it's part of my job. Yeah, I know you can't do it with all young people, but Lifelong Links allows you to explore that and explore what kind of link you want. So whether it's email contact, whether it's, it doesn't matter whether how little or how much it is. Lifelong Links makes it a safe way, and the young person is the person who says what they want and what they feel comfortable with.
That's really powerful, Sandra. Thank you. Got a couple more questions now just coming in. So this is probably more for you, Andrew. Are there any more plans to expand Lifelong Links to more local authorities, and how can people find out more about Lifelong Links itself?
Yes, is the answer. We're always looking to expand Lifelong Links, the Lifelong Links network, to the UK and perhaps even abroad. It's a very strong and supportive network full of people and local authorities that deeply care about making life better for children and young people. As I mentioned earlier, looking at different ways to use the Lifelong Links model to support different young people and children across the country. And if you are in a local authority and haven't got Lifelong Links, you can visit our website, which is www.frg.org.uk. On our website, there's lots of videos from young people like Saima, just who are talking about their lived experiences of Lifelong Links and what that was like from different perspectives. There's foster carer perspectives on there as well. So lots of plans.
Thank you. And just, is there anything for each of you that you think listeners can do that could support children in care and care leavers in their communities? And I'll put that as an open question. Whoever wants to go first?
I'll jump in there, James. So you could find out more from the Family Rights Group perspective by visiting our website and signing up to the Build Not Break campaign. It's if you click on the Lifelong Links tab, it will be easy to find it. We would also encourage people to have conversations in their own local authority and about setting up a service. We also have a counsellors network that counsellors, in particular those with responsibility for children and families, can join to learn more about Lifelong Links and Family Rights Group's advice and advocacy services and the work that we're doing around kinship care and many other areas of note. So there's plenty you can do.
I was just going to add to what Andrew said and said, anybody can be involved and they need to talk to, but they need to know who to talk to in order to find that information. But as Andrew said, you could go through the Family Rights Group. But if a local authority doesn't have Lifelong Links, I think that if you were a neighbour, a teacher, and you were worried that, they were leaving school and you still wanted to be in contact, you can have that conversation with the local authority and see if they do have Lifelong Links. Because I think people don't necessarily know that there is Lifelong Links in a particular local authority if they don't know what Lifelong Links is, even though it does say in the title, Lifelong Links.
I would want people to actually learn what Lifelong Link is and actually educate and ask a lot of questions, because I didn't really understand what Lifelong Link was. I didn't really want to be open about it, especially with the way that my social worker had come about it. So, and it's the same with my carer, because she wasn't really aware of it. So she was just there like, I've just been told you need to do this. So she was kind of forcing it on me too. But yeah, I would just say to actually like educate people what Lifelong Links is and how it can be another way of actually gaining family, and not also that, but actually you can even have your Lifelong Link worker as a support person as well, because I'm still in contact with my Lifelong Link worker. And I would say for people to be more open about it and things like that, because it could be really helpful.
Thank you so much, Saima. That is sort of the main group of questions, and I just want to say thank you all of you for joining today. I just want to go around to each of you and just say, do you have any final thoughts or messages for our members of people listening? I'll start with you, Andrew.
I think that if Lifelong Links is something that you do want to find out more about, Family Rights Group is very happy to have a conversation with you about that. It's worth saying that Lifelong Links isn't just a one service operation, it's a whole local authority approach to system change. So as I said earlier, we hope that one day Lifelong Links isn't needed, and that's by getting the infrastructure right, by involving directors, lead council members, a range of different services within the local authority to bring about this change and actually implement some real long-term strategy for supporting children and young people from the point of being at the edge of care all the way through to through their care journey and through leaving care as well. So there's a lot of conversation to have. So please do have it with us. Visit our website, contact us. We would love to have that conversation with you.
Thank you. Sandra, final thoughts?
I just think that, as Saima says, we kind of need to, I think everybody needs to be educated in some way about lifelong links, and to know that, you know, it's possible that you can remain in a child or young person's life for life. And there are different ways of doing it. I think that lifelong links is something that, like I said before, people may not know about, just need to help educate people more about it, and local authorities. But most importantly, as Andrew said, it's about a system change. It's about a mindset change, because the mindset may not be that, you know, it's going to be beneficial, and it is.
Thank you, Sandra. Simon, I'm going to come to you with final thought. Is there anything you want to share or send a message to people listening?
I would say that for me as a care leaver, Lifelong Link has actually been one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Even being in care, to be fair, I realized like it was the only support system that I really had. Even though I had a social worker, I had more of a relationship with my Lifelong Link worker, and it was one of the best decisions I've made. So I'd want people to actually see and try how it feels to have a Lifelong Link worker, and actually give it a chance, because when you're not that educated about it, you tend to like push it to the side and not want to do it. So it could be one of the best things that's happened to you if you tried. But yeah, that's one thing I would say is that I'm really happy that I did try actually do Lifelong Link.
Thank you so much, Saima. I'm going to thank you all for joining me today, but Saima in particular, just your input today just has been incredible and powerful and thought-provoking. I know that people listening will hear what you've had to say, and it will make them think more about lifelong links, those relationships, and how important they should be cherished, nourished, and supported for children in care and care leavers. So I just want to say thank you so much, Saima in particular, but thank you, Andrew and Sandra, too. We will share this podcast, and I think this will provide lots of helpful information and guidance for our members, because I know there's lots to think about. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, James.
Lifelong Links is all about listening and finding out who's important to children in care. If they want to meet them, how will and when. Lifelong Links, whoa, brings people together. Lifelong Links is a process. We'll go at a pace that suits you best. Reconnecting with the past, building networks that last. Lifelong Links, whoa, brings people together. Lifelong Links, whoa, brings people together. Lifelong Links, whoa, brings people together.